Hi everybody, welcome to Wednesday Wisdom. So for today's episode, I am going to be talking about burnout, and in particular burnout among office workers and desk workers and people who are just working full on. And I want to talk about obviously what it is, and I want to talk about how, if we're not managing stress, it can increase the likelihood of burnout occurring. So burnout for me is defined as that physical and mental exhaustion. So where the body has just gone past that point of being able to cope and it starts to deteriorate. It's commonly seen with higher levels of depression, anxiety, fatigue, brain fog, reduction in processing, irritability, and chronic pain and soreness around the body. So the person just feels absolutely rubbish when we're at this level. And so what happens normally day to day is when our body's exposed to stress or a stress stimulus. So for example, a situation at work or a situation at home that's quite stressful, quite full on, what we do is we deal with it, and it's that fight or flight response. Our body responds to the stress. And so what happens with the sympathetic nervous system, which is that fight or flight, your body's prepared and ready to go. And so we get that increase in spike in heart rate, increase in breathing rate, release of cortisol, we get that release of adrenaline, and everything is just fired up. Which is why actually with a little bit of stress, we're really focused and really processing that situation. What should happen once we've dealt with that situation is we should reset the body back to a neutral point. So you should reset everything. So bring blood pressure down, heart rate down, lower all the levels, and come back to that lovely calm state. However, in modern society, and when we've got lots of demands either at home or with work, and we're not taking that time to reset, your body no longer does this, and so you're exposed to chronic levels of stress. So we think about the general adaptation syndrome, or some people call it the general adaptation response. It's how your body tries to deal with stress long term, and the symptoms that arise when we are not doing this efficiently. So that first phase, like I said, fight or flight, is the alarm phase. So if we're thinking of kind of like a bell-shaped curve, it's the first peak of the curve as we come up, the alarm phase. And this is all of those symptoms I said before, getting ready to go. What should happen is it should drop back down. If we're continuing to be exposed to stress, we go into something called the resistance phase. And this is where the curve comes up like this. What happens in this level is we start to get exposed to that long-term cortisol levels, which are your stress levels at a high level, long-term adrenaline levels. And again, your body starts to deal with this. So we become more exhausted, more irritable, more tired. And then what happens if this continues and we don't reset is we start to go into that exhaustion phase. So this is where the curve drops down. And with this exhaustion phase here, this is the area where people go into the realms of burnout. And so what happens from a physical point of view is we're more likely to get aches and pains. The body's worse at repairing itself. So we get aches and soreness and pain through the body. What also happens with higher elevated levels of cortisol, what this also does is suppresses your immune response. So you don't deal with stuff as well. So we're more likely to get coughs and colds and illnesses. From a mental health point of view, obviously we're just so exhausted, it can increase the likelihood of depression and anxiety, insomnia, poor quality of sleep, our brain's going mad, we're not able to sleep very well. What also happens is it can induce fibromyalgia or chronic fatigue, so there's a higher risk of this. And this is where we start to see people kind of at that burnout level. So my top tips to stop this from happening. Number one, leave work at work. So if we're able to do this when we're working all day and you're organised and you're looking after yourself, make sure you have that clear cut-off point before you come home so you're able to completely reset. From a physical point of view, taking regular breaks during the day not only resets the posture of the body and keeps the body moving, but also from a mental point of view, it helps you be more productive. You take the brain out of that focus into a diffuse state. When you then go back to it, you're more focused, you're very clear on what you want to do. again, you become less stressed because you know what you're doing and you're happy and you're confident. So mental point of view. Also from a physical point of view, when you finish work, my other tip for the body is making sure you're resetting the body. So if you have had key areas of aches and pain through the neck and the shoulders, when you get in, just making sure, you know, you're stretching through the body, you're moving, you're relaxing through and feeling really good. And then just before we go to bed, one of my closest friends, who's also an osteopath, Annie Marie Osborne, shared this really great tip with me, is obviously reducing the amount of screen time, because if we've got that bright screen, either when we're watching the TV really late or on our phones, what it does, that brightness, it increases or peaks our cortisol levels even more. And we're wired up so that when we get into bed, we're kind of like this as we're trying to sleep. So what I'd recommend is an hour before bed, almost create that wind down routine. Turn the phone off, dim the lights, let everything settle, and then go to bed where you feel a lot more relaxed. And then that's where you can start to create that time. And then finally, making sure you're adding in time for you, adding in some you time, making sure you're setting aside something that you like to do during the day. It could be going for a walk, it could be chatting to your friends, it could be calling your mum, it could be getting a coffee or reading your favourite book, whatever it is. Something to allow yourself to relax, allow yourself to reboot after a crazy day, or reboot at regular points during the day, and that will improve both your physical and mental well-being. But hopefully this was helpful today. Any questions, please comment below. We've done lecture series on our YouTube channel, so on our channel we've got more videos on this, on how to deal with stress in the workplace, improve physical well-being. So it's all under Osteo and Physio Events on the channel. Any questions, like I said, let me know, and have a fab Wednesday.